I've never given a shit about cars ever in my life. So I'll drive whatever I have until it dies. So I'll have that for, it's got like 75,000 miles on it. We've had it for 9 years.
What's the old lady drive?
Brand new BMW.
I had a feeling. But she drives a lot more than you, right?
I mean, she drives to the barn and back. Yeah.
I knew both of you weren't driving a Sorrento.
No. It was the Prius before the Sorrento.
Oh, jeez.
Tell me what you think about me having a Prius. Mike's hot?
I think it's great, dude. I love that.
If you could describe me in one word, what would that word be? Thrifty, right?
I think the season's almost over, man.
Environmentally friendly.
That's actually exactly what I was going for, yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. You nailed it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Strategy Show presented by No House Advantage, where you can use all of the free tools provided to you at Awesemo.com without having a subscription, where you can get $20 just by signing up, making a deposit for the first time, and using the promo code Awesemo and checking out their awesome peer-to-peer player prop system when you download the app at No House Advantage. Tournament style, peer-to-peer player prop format. It's awesome. Free tools at Awesemo. Great way to build your bankroll. They want you to win over there because why wouldn't they? They're a new site looking to get a foothold in this industry. Use that promo code Awesemo when you sign up, AWESEMO, to get your $20. Doing something a little different this morning, you know, Josh? Yeah. A little something different. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D on Twitter. Hit me up, LOUGHY_D. Joined by Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman over on that same Twitters. What's going on, my friend?
Not too much, man. Not too much. We got through that 11 gamer yesterday, and it wasn't really as crazy as I was expecting it to be. And no one really played well. I don't think anybody scored 60 fantasy points, which is kind of crazy. If they did, it was, barely one. But I don't think it was anybody. I don't know. I'm ready for a nice 6 gamer. This is perfect. This is what I'm looking for, especially on the final week of the regular season.
That's right. I'm throwing a tweet out here now, Josh. So
I know what to do.
Give me the old RT so we can get this started.
Yeah.
Pretty wild stat too. The stat was in that tweet that Russell Westbrook has as many 80 fantasy point games in his last 5 than anyone else has on the season.
Amazing.
Is that crazy or what? I mean, how does that even compute? Finally, he's above 11,000 on DraftKings. They just made the leap, went straight to 12-4. Good thing they did it with like 2 or 3 games remaining for the Washington Wizards.
I really am glad that it happened because it changes the entire aspect of the slate. Although we still have him pulling in what I would say is more ownership than I think that he should be getting, but we'll dig into that. Well, I guess immediately.
And it's also kind of fun though now to talk about Westbrook on a slate. Yeah. It actually makes it a little bit more interesting. Maybe the puzzle isn't fully put together when you go to, solve it. So I like that. And I think it actually creates some strategy that we haven't had to deal with. Like, people said we should just put Westbrook in every lineup as a free square before. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, that's stupid because then you could just say, take him out of the player pool altogether or just, whatever. But he was 83% on Monday, 83%. So you pretty much are just putting him in as a free square at 11K.
Yeah. The part that people start to miss in those scenarios, and I don't disagree with the ownership. He was preposterously priced and had the highest upside of anybody else. It's not so much that you think like Russ could fail. It's that other guys at lower prices could also have really good games. And that's where it starts to get messy with the salary when you get into that 80 plus range where winning the tournament actually can become a little bit more easy if you don't have him and you have a comparably priced high pay up option. He can still play well, but if that if those points per dollar get to a certain range, you got a couple other guys that can go for north of 70 and they might be $2,000 cheaper than Russ at that point. And now we actually get to have that conversation,
which is exciting because the game has a 240.5 total against Atlanta.
Yeah.
And no Bradley Beal.
Right.
So just a lot of things happening around here. We're here for it. That's what matters. It's this time of the season where you got to hang out with us in the mornings, in the afternoon, at night, whatever shows you can make. Hopefully we can make sense together of all of this and find our way into the money. I mean, Peter Hanley again yesterday. This guy it's unbelievable. Like first,
that name sounds fake, by the way.
It certainly does, but the wins aren't.
Yeah. No, they're not fake.
And then you had the other guy, C-Zap or whatever. We'll do the Hall of Fame segment later.
Yeah.
But this guy took down, what was it, 20K yesterday, and then he came in 5th place in the same contest last night. I love to see it, but it's crazy. First, it was Gene Kim. Before that, it was Rimpak. I mean, it just the hits keep coming. It's exciting, and that's exactly why we're happy to have you guys with us, because it's fun to do this stuff. It's fun to see those screenshots and wins. And you know what? On bad days, we commiserate with each other, Josh. That's what makes the community good. Shit could go south real quick, but we're all here for it because usually when bad nights happen, you and I can be in the thick of it as well.
Oh, yeah. The bad nights are generally more fun to talk about unless you have the ultimate good night. Like, nobody cares that you 2x. Like, I'm happy for our subs, but nobody cares if I 2x.
Well, we're not celebrating. We're not throwing a party over it. Yeah.
It's way more fun to talk about how somebody sucked.
Yeah, exactly. So hit that thumbs up. Make it the first thing you do. You come in here, you sit down, maybe you got your coffee. Maybe you're on your way to work. I don't know. Maybe you work a landscaping job. You got your phone in your pocket. You got the AirPods in, because I rock the AirPods whenever I'm mowing the lawn, whenever I'm doing any of that. I'm assuming you pay someone to mow your lawn, but
certainly do.
You have a much larger lawn than I do. I just laid sod down the other day. Had sod laid down. No, wonderful decision.
I thought when you said I paid I thought you meant like you did it,
no,
which that was my head shake.
I paid someone to do it. I helped them out. Yes. Though. I helped them out a little bit. What a wonderful decision. You know how much easier than reseeding a lawn that is? My God. I've done both.
I've done neither because I would just drink an Arnold Palmer from the porch.
Well, there you go. That's Arnold Palmers are delicious. Anyway, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell if you always want to know when we're going live. We're almost at 55,000 subscribers. I mean, when football season kicks back up, I think we just rocket to 75K.
To the moon, baby. Like Dogecoin.
It's gonna happen. There's no doubt about it. And hey, if you want to join the channel, that join button down there, you see all these people in chat with the badges, different colors. Tony's got the silver now. Is that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, ooh. It is. It's slightly different.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
That's the first one I've seen.
Me too. Can't wait to see what comes next. I wonder if Tony was our first YouTube member.
Probably pretty close. It's got to be pretty close, right? Like, we'll find out, I guess, if we see a couple more.
I don't know. And you can also use these gnarly emojis, like the ones that I just put in chat right now. I don't know. It's pretty cool. It's $2.99. You don't need to do it. It doesn't make a difference to me, but it's fun to do. And it's fun to have people in the community as members. And of course, we'll always take your questions when I see the badge. Yeah. All right, Josh. Well, before we dive into it, let's take a quick look at Fantasy Cruncher lineup study. See what went down on a wild 11-game slate last night.
Yeah, shout out to Ross MT. Played 2 lineups yesterday, took down 100K by a half point. Ooh. What a sweat there. Second place holding just 25K. I can't say just 25K, but a half point from an extra $75,000. That one stings even if you win the 25K. Wild lineup too. Kemba Walker at 2.5% owned, 50 fantasy points. Derrick Rose sub 10% went for 50. Terrence Davis goes for 43. Jason Tatum goes for 56. Jokic for 53. Saban Lee at 3,400 goes for just shy of 40. And then we get Brandon Clark and Tillman, the Grizzlies combo, going for 34 and 23. Tillman actually disappointing pretty heavily, but he was so owned that it really didn't matter all that much at the price tag.
Yeah, that was 9 and 6. Yeah,
not ideal. Played 23 minutes, 4 for 6 from the field, 6 boards, but doesn't matter because Ross MT has 100K more in the pocket.
Well, congratulations, Ross MT. Nice work. Solid lineup. Yeah, Kemba and Tatum. There were some big games from that Boston team yesterday that went largely overlooked. And Derrick Rose with the 50 spot. You look at that lineup, though, and Terrence Davis was 15%. But some of the this is one of those lineups where I see it and I go, all right, well, Clark and Tillman, two chalky guys there. Exactly the reason why we say you don't need to fade value chalk if you go different elsewhere in certain spots, right? Because Saban Lee was 29%, another chalky player. Jokic 14, Tatum 11, but Rose and Kemba Walker combined 9% ownership there. That was the difference maker.
Here's the very interesting piece. No Raptors. That was the value du jour to start yesterday. No Raptors in that winning lineup.
When we talked on the morning show, 5 Raptors in the top 6 projected ownership, or there were 5 Raptors in the top 6 of projected ownership. Did any Raptors finish within the top 30 of fantasy scoring yesterday?
Let's find out.
I want to say no.
Highest scoring Raptor yesterday was Chris Boucher at 30 DK points. He played 37 minutes. So let's start there. Chris Boucher played 37 minutes. There's not a person on this planet that thought he was going to play 37 minutes yesterday. I would guess that there's not anybody that really thought he was going to play north of 30 minutes, given how long that he had been out. I was
giving him 24.
If you projected Chris Boucher for 37 minutes, he would have been in 100% of your lineups yesterday. He was 0.79 DK points per minute. Freddie Gillespie was probably the best guy you could have gotten from the Raps. 28 fantasy points, 1.11 DK points per minute. Nuts.
Wow. So yeah,
I have one other thing I want to touch on for this slate, and I think it's really interesting to look at. And you have no idea where I'm going with this.
I don't.
So this is why nobody is a lock button. This is why you can't just look at game logs. This is why every single thing that people normally think is like a hard and fast rule in DFS just does not exist. The Boston Celtics played the Miami Heat on May 9th and May 11th, back-to-back games. In those games, Boston scored 124 points and 121 points. So basically the same team outcome. Kemba Walker played 40 minutes in the first game and 38 minutes in the second game. But the first time they did it, he had 32 fantasy points and was 5 of 12 from the field. In the second game, he had 54 fantasy points and he was 14 of 27 from the field, more than twice as many shot attempts. That is why nothing is ever set in stone. You could flip-flop those games, changes everything for the slate. That's why randomness exists when you're trying to do your crunches, while we have percentage odds of hitting boom or bust scores, because every single day is different and there are ranges of outcomes. It's not this guy's a lock button, because one day you're a bust and the next day you're the most essential play on your team. It's craziness in the same matchup, in the same game, basically for the team doing the exact same thing. Nuts.
Yeah. And the thing about basketball is you have to make the shots you take. So some of, and how about this? The players that you pass to have to make the shots for you to get the assist. There are going to be games where you have the exact, I'll take it a step further, where you see the exact same usage, the exact same potential assists, all of that, right? Yeah. Exact same minutes, and finish with half the fantasy points as the next game, despite the exact same opportunity.
Yeah. Those guys miss 3 or 4 additional threes. You miss a couple extra threes, same shot attempts, everything changes. I mean, Kemba was $100 different in price. Miami scored 130 points the first day, 129 the second day. They basically ran the exact same game back. And then you get, and I think this is even more interesting. Let's just say that we're gonna project Kemba for 38 fantasy points in both of those. You see the low end where he comes in at 32. You see the high end where he comes in at 54. When you see someone projected for 38 fantasy points, what you're really saying is that this guy is probably going to be anywhere from 28 to 48. And nobody ever wants to hear that, but that is sort of what the error bars look like on these projections.
Absolutely. Just a comment here. APKS says, if you play 150 lineups, you should cash every day. I would argue that if someone came in and started playing 150 and someone came in and started playing 3, the person playing 150 would lose their money markedly quicker than the person playing 3.
Anybody that says that just simply doesn't understand math. When you're playing 150 lineups, you're generally entering a contest that pays out, let's say, 20% of the prize pool, which means if you are an average player, you're only cashing 20% of your lineups. That's a losing day.
But hold on a second. It's not just paying out 20%. It's no longer paying out twice your entry fee to min cash. That is huge.
Exactly.
Back when I started, it paid out 20 to 25% in tournaments, right? 20 to 22%. I'm sorry. And if you cashed 4 of 10 lineups, you're still fine because you doubled up on every lineup that you cashed. Now you're putting in $20 entry. And if you min cash 3 of 6, you're only getting back $10 more on each of those entries than you entered. You're losing money even on the entries you're cashing, if you think about it.
Yeah, it's a completely different scenario. If you're a 150 maxer, you're probably having losing days significantly more frequently than winning days.
Oh, yeah.
If you are having winning days like 35% of the time, like I'm just picking numbers out of the top of my head, You're probably crushing like that. You're a top 1%er in NBA DFS. That's just not how it works. It's just the misconceptions of playing 150 lineups are both sad and incredible, because the people that don't understand it are the people that allow me to continue to play every day.
Yeah. Check this out. And then we'll move on. We're going to hit the games right now. But I want to put this in perspective, because Peter Hanley tweeted at us this morning, and someone that guy, that miserable son of a bitch, said, if you're playing more than 10 lineups, it's bullshit. And 150 lineups you cash every time. I told him, take out a loan then. Like, if that's the case, and because I was ready for him to be like, well, I don't have the bankroll to do that. Well, then take out a loan. I'm dead serious, right? If you think
it's a license to print money, you're a moron for not doing it.
Exactly. If your whole presupposition is that 150 lineups is free money, then you're an imbecile. If you are not, and I'm not saying the guy from chat is at all. I'm talking about the guy that's just constantly talking negatively to everyone who says something good about winning money, right? You're an imbecile if you're not going to your local bank, and taking out a sizable loan, because you could pay that loan off in days with that. You
don't even need to do it. Max the stupid nickel on FanDuel for $7.50.
Right.
It's like a coffee at Starbucks.
But what I'm saying is, even if you took out a loan and you got to pay the interest each month, you'd have already paid it all up. Just go back to the bank at the end of the month, pay it off. You're good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ludicrous.
It doesn't work that way. Last thing, if you play
people just want to play less than 150 for pride's sake instead of having money.
That's always a good one, where they're like, well, I'm not a scumbag, so I don't do. Okay. Well, yeah. 150 lineups, $20 entry. Let's say the shoot around $3,000. If you let's just say min cashed, okay, you min cashed 100 of those lineups, 100 of 150 lineups, you min cashed them. All right,
break even.
Of those lineups, that means you've cashed 2/3 of them. You break even. Yeah, you literally break even.
Yeah.
So think about how tough it is with how scaled the payouts are and how top heavy they are.
Let's do it this way, because now we don't even have to dance around it. You ready for this? 34 people max entered that contest yesterday.
How many?
34. Okay. Max entered. 1 made money.
There you go. And how much?
Everybody else lost money, and only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Only 8 guys lost less than $1,000.
Well, yeah, that's crazy, right? Crazy. So most of them lost a third of what, and I bet if you look, a lot of them probably cashed a decent amount of them. It just doesn't matter if you're not cashing high up.
Somebody cashed 60. RBX88 cashed 60, lost money.
Boom. There you go.
Here's one for you. Yesterday's winner, Chet Abisk, cashed 5 of 150 and lost $2,800.
Yeah. And he's a good player.
Like, if you look that up and think, well, if you play 150, you got to make money. 33 of 34 people that played 150 lineups lost 30 of, what was it, 26, something like that, lost over $1,000 doing it.
Yeah.
That's a third of the buy-in.
I know. Just wanted to talk about it because it truly is a misconception. And I think a lot of people, again, misconception. I'm not saying you're dumb for saying it or that you're, intellectually dishonest. I just think that people don't really understand. And where is it? He just said, I think I should have clarified. I meant they, will have an easier time breaking even, but they won't.
No,
you won't.
No.
I've seen so many people get wrecked by going in, using Fantasy Cruncher and not understanding how to use it, playing 150 lineups and getting smoked because all 150 of their lineups look like this, Josh, on that bar on the app, right? They all look like this. They're all grouped together. They don't know how to work exposure. They have no idea how many uniques to use. They have no idea how to cap their exposure. And then you have a bad day and you don't cash one of your 150. So,
which by the way, happened to one guy yesterday. No, what? Two. You know who one of them is?
Who's that?
Rinpack.
Yeah, there you go. One of the best players.
Oh shit. I don't think that was intentional. He ran a dummy, I think.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I don't think that he tried to do that.
Rinpack.
But on the other hand, Jim Bob 2125 did not run a dummy, but he did lock Kem Birch at 100% with a 2% owned Kem Birch. So that didn't go well either. But yeah, Kobe for MVP cashed 5 of 150. Cheta Bisk 5 of 150. I mean, like it's nuts. It's truly, truly nuts. RBX 88 cashed 60 lineups, lost money. Brick cashed 58 lineups, lost money. Our boy Neil cashed 58 of 150, more than a third of the lineups, lost $573.
That's how it goes down, man. And then
if you're going to max enter, you're going to lose if you don't win the damn slate.
Yep. Yeah. I think we've done enough here. All right. Let's talk about
Washington. It's fun to talk about.
It is fun to talk about. And it's helpful, I think, for a lot of people to talk about. That isn't to say that like 150 is a bad idea. But if you don't know what you're doing going into it, you will get destroyed.
You have to be prepared for 8 weeks of losing.
Yeah.
6 out of 7 days.
Yeah. I mean,
because if you win, you pay it all off for months.
Exactly. I max everything for football. I max every single week. I think that's just one of those sports where like, if I'm not tackling every possible like decent stack combination, I'm just screwed out of the gate. You and I talked about it all season leading up to football. Yeah. But when you look at some of these and you talk about like just how easy it is to lose money. When I first started using Fantasy Cruncher and putting in 150 lineups, it was ugly. Like I had no idea what I was doing. I thought I did, right? You lock this guy, you do that. I mean, it was ugly.
Yeah. It's not flying blind and playing 150
is bad.
You're going to take a pretty aggressive beating.
That was a learning curve though. You gotta, Washington and Atlanta. Let's jump into it. 10:26 in the morning here. Washington Wizards 6.5 point. What?
I didn't realize that we've already been on for 25 minutes.
We're not good at this. 6.5 point favorites, 240.5 point total. Like I said at the beginning of the show, for anyone just tuning in, Westbrook has as many 80 Draftkings point games in the last 5 starts than any player on the season. I say it twice, Josh, because it's one of the most remarkable numbers you're going to get all season long. Like that's how good this stretch has been for us. The last person to do this was Lillard when he had those. Remember we went like 80 plus and 5 of 6 or something insane.
Yeah.
When everyone didn't want to play him and said it wasn't sustainable. Well, Westbrook's 12-4 now against Atlanta with no Bradley Beal. What are we doing here with him and the rest of the Wizards?
So this is the first time in a while where I like Russell Westbrook more on FanDuel than I do on DraftKings. He's 12-6 on FanDuel, 12-4 on DK, but I think it's just easier to get to him on FanDuel, and it's easier to, I don't want to say get away from him on DraftKings because that's not at all what I mean. To me, even at 12-4, he still looks really good. I don't know if I want to have 33% of him though today. If you want to tell me 20 to 25, I'm cool. I'm guessing based on everything that we've seen as of late, that 33% ownership on Russ is probably lower than it ends up being. And I will say this as well. I expect to get more value as the day goes on. And if that happens, that makes it easier and easier and easier to get to Russ. My personal ownership for Russ on DraftKings would climb. He's very clearly the best option on Washington. I've got him with a 36% chance on DK to go for, oh God, what is it? 67. So a third of the time he's going north of 67, and he's probably in your winning lineup if you need him. That's nuts.
Do you want to know how underpriced he was on DraftKings? Just to give you an example, he jumped $1,400, right? And I'm not talking about from 3,000 to 4,400 or even 6 to 74 or 8 to 94. He jumped from 11 to 12.4, and he's still projected to be owned by a third of the field on DraftKings. And you think it could be even higher than that. That's how underpriced he was.
If you asked me to bet on his ownership, I would absolutely bet on the over if you gave me even odds on both sides of that number.
Beal is out. The game has the highest total on the slate. I wouldn't be shocked if he came in north of 50.
No. And I think that is probably wrong.
You're saying you think he should be less than that? Like you would.
I would have no problem being lighter and redistributing, because 12-4 is different. That changes your lineup construction pretty considerably.
Yeah. I think it all comes down to what opens up on this slate, though. Like,
agreed.
You know, if we get to 6 o'clock and this guy's out and another stud is out and this team sits their entire starting lineup, then it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to play Russell Westbrook at 12-4 because now it doesn't matter nearly as much. And his 65 isn't going to hurt me as much as it would if I was paying up for him and sacrificing talent at every other position.
Like, we've got Kevin Durant at 6% ownership at 9,800, Dame Lillard at 13% ownership at 9,600. It's not out of the realm of possibility to me that those two guys combined provide more per dollar value than Russ, and you're allocating your salary a little bit differently.
Do you like anyone else for Washington?
I do. I think you're a pretty decent value on FanDuel at 3,700. That would be Davis Bertans.
Okay, I was going to say, let people know this false and miserable comparison that you've been using.
I mean, everybody knows it immediately just because of having eyes, I guess.
That's not
3,700 for Davis Bertans. He's already projected for 16% ownership on FanDuel. I would be more than okay coming in a little bit higher than that. He got pretty hot shooting late and was fine when they played Atlanta 2 nights ago. I'll still go back there as a value option. He's also pulling the second amount of ownership on DraftKings. He's 4K there. I think that ownership is good enough. Ish is picking up a little bit of love. I'm not really fond of it, but I get it. That's a total minutes thing at 3,600. If you think he gets more, it'll look good. Neto, probably a bit overpriced for me, but still like a 10%er. Rui didn't see the same amount of minutes that I thought he would have. I got him in for 30 today. He's viable, but Russ and Bertans are the two best plays for me.
On Atlanta, you've got Trae Young coming off of a solid game here. Yeah. Hopefully we all went over 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists last game. I'm assuming he's somewhere around that today. The guy averages that on the season, and he's facing a Washington team. It just felt like a nice one there to take the over on Trae Young, who has been good this year, Josh. Like, he's still a 1.3 plus fantasy point per minute guy. It's not that he's been bad. It's just his price had been up too close to a lot of other really good players to jump on board with that. Now, what do you do when he's $9,100 on DraftKings and $8,500 on FanDuel in a game with such a high total against the fastest paced team in the league?
Well, I have Trae Young as my favorite point guard on FanDuel today. To me, 8,500 is just a silly price here.
Sure. And
the ownership is already showing. He's at 39%. I think it could even be a little bit higher than that. So I love getting to Trae Young. I don't even mind it at DraftKings at 9,100. He's pulling 26% ownership there. I actually think that number could be slightly higher. I love getting to Trae. I have absolutely no problem grabbing $7,600 Clint Capella on FanDuel in this matchup. You only get one center, but the chance of him having north of 20 rebounds is pretty high. So he's 23% owned. Cool with that. Bogdanovich, John Collins, Kevin Huerter, all of these guys. This is the best matchup Atlanta can find. They gain almost 6 possessions over their average just by playing Washington. I like everything that's coming on for Atlanta, but Trae Young is my absolute clear top option from Atlanta.
What about
and
on
my
DraftKings?
Second favorite play on FanDuel.
What about DraftKings where he's 9,100? Because he's still getting.
I still like him a lot.
I like him a lot too.
I have him second overall on DK today.
Yeah, I really like Trey today, and
Yeah.
it's hard to get around this when the price comes down to a point that's a lot more palatable, and and you've got an amazing matchup. You got to at least consider it. San Antonio and Brooklyn, the Spurs kicking off the second game here, 3-point dogs, 233 total. We'll get to Brooklyn in just a moment, where we've got question marks surrounding James Harden, who after a 5-week hiatus could be returning, and Kyrie Irving, who Steve Nash said doesn't have a concussion. So still questionable. We'll see what happens. But with San Antonio, do you like this matchup against Brooklyn enough? Do you like any of these prices enough against Brooklyn to jump on board?
Yeah, oddly enough, I like a lot of San Antonio, and the scope changes depending on the site. On FanDuel, it's 3 guys for me: DeMar DeRozan, DeJounte Murray, Keldon Johnson. We know that we don't have Derek White, so DeMar DeRozan's usage creeps up quite a bit, and obviously LaMarcus Aldridge has been gone for a while. DeRozan and DeJounte are both projected for north of 20% ownership on FanDuel. I think it should be more in the 25 to 30% range, so I am quite heavy here. Brooklyn's defense is terrible, so it's an even better spot in that regard. And then Keldon Johnson has a value at 4,300. You cross your fingers and hope it's that kind of up-tempo bad D game that he can be a part of it. On DraftKings, it's a little flatter. I like those same 3 guys in the 20% range: DeRozan, Murray, Keldon Johnson. They're all pulling about 15% ownership, so I am over the field on San Antonio in that regard. But I think Jakob Poeltl at 5,300 and Lonnie Walker at 4,500 are both potential value plays. They are also already projected for about 15% ownership. So I think everybody on San Antonio is either properly owned or just a hair under owned. I like all 5 of them. Jakob Poeltl in particular, not that he's significantly better as a defensive center than an offensive center, but he's still a fantasy point per minute guy. And this is a really good spot for him against the Brooklyn team that doesn't really have a front court.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And he's playing in certain spots 34 plus minutes per game. He's had 34 plus minutes of court time in 2 of his last 3. I have no issues with that. Against Boston, I think it was in that OT game, he played 43 minutes back at the end of April. Jakob Poeltl can get big minutes. So at 5,300, it's not like you're rostering one of these high per minute guys that only gets you at most 25 or 26 minutes. The minutes upside for Poeltl is still there every night.
And by the way, I have him projected for 29, which I do think gives me a lot of wiggle room up.
Exactly. Right. You're not projecting him for 35, but it's not like he can't get there. He's done that recently.
Exactly. I like him at 29 minutes. If I knew that he got to 30, 31, 32, then he starts to become a very highly ranked play.
No doubt about it, man. This is not a strong Brooklyn front court. Jakob Poeltl on both ends should be able to do some damage. Yeah. On the Brooklyn side, you're looking at James Harden, questionable right now, could finally make his return. His last game, Josh, was the 5th of April. And he only played 4 minutes. The last game he really played was March 31st. Okay. Because he only played 4 minutes in that April 5th game. March 31st is the last game he's played. So essentially a month and a half since he's been out. I don't know, quite frankly, what his limitations are going to look like. I'm assuming he doesn't play his full allotment of minutes, but I wouldn't be surprised if he still got up to around 30 because it's James Harden. Now, Kyrie Irving, He left Tuesday's game because he had an inadvertent elbow to the face. The initial X-ray was inconclusive, meaning further scans are needed to determine the true nature of Irving's injury. He'll undergo additional testing Wednesday, leaving his status for Nets game later that day against the Spurs uncertain. So whenever I hear about additional testing on game day, my initial suspicion is that he's not going to play. Do you think Irving plays?
I have him out right now. I have Harden in at 28 minutes.
So that makes Kevin Durant at $9,800 on DraftKings a relatively appealing play, one might say.
Apparently not. I don't understand why we have him projected for 6% ownership unless we think he's only playing the first half or something today. I have him in the optimal lineup 26% of the time on DraftKings and 20 on FanDuel, even at 10-7, where he's projected for 3% ownership. I don't know what I'm missing. If that ownership ends up being correct, just play all the Kevin Durant you want. It's especially at 9,800. That price is not correct at all.
No, well, we do have Irving in, but I guess we have Harden out right now. So
yeah,
it doesn't make a difference, right?
if one of those two guys are playing, it's the same scenario for
That's
Kevin
what
Durant.
I mean. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And if they're both in, I still want more than 6% Kevin Durant at 9,800.
Yeah, and if they're both out, well, which is very possible. It's very possible Harden doesn't play.
Yeah.
If that happens to be the case, then I would suggest loading up on Kevin Durant, even on the second of a back-to-back. He played 32 minutes yesterday. That game was only won by 8 points, but I can assure you at no point in the second half was it competitive. So, I think Kevin Durant is a really, really appealing option tonight. And I don't have Kyrie Irving in. When you're getting additional tests, that's just where I'm going with it.
Yeah, and for right now, the Nets are 87% to be the 2 seed. So the Bucks would have to win pretty aggressively. The Nets are obviously the favorites in this game. If James Harden can play, I think that Kyrie sits. If James Harden doesn't play, then I think it comes down to sort of like, well, how's your face, man? You know?
Right. Yeah.
But if Harden can play, then it's a lot easier to sit Kyrie.
But Nash said he doesn't have a concussion, so maybe he does play. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hope he does, I guess. It doesn't matter to me at all. It's not going to change anything. Kevin Durant's still probably going to shoot, 15 times at a 75% true shooting or whatever that stupid ass true shooting he has right now, which is it's insane. He doesn't miss.
I know.
He doesn't miss.
I know.
I want to make sure that I get it right because I know that it is like a really, truly preposterous number. Yeah, 67.4% true shooting right now. That is the highest mark he's ever had.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick Claxton played 24 minutes yesterday, and it actually was not all blowout run. Now, he didn't play the final 5 minutes of the game, but he played a lot in the second half. Like I said, a decent amount of minutes here, 23 and a half. At minimum salary, is there any value there for you today, assuming not much opens up?
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't projected for the most ownership on Brooklyn right now on DraftKings, so we can get a good chuckle about that. I think it should be slightly higher than the 9% we're showing because I think the fact that he's the highest projected owned guy on Brooklyn right now.
Oh yeah, I know, it's crazy.
I haven't projected for 20 minutes, and I like him in 12% of optimals. He could very easily play more than 20 minutes in this spot. So I do think that there's a lot of upside in Nick Claxton. By the way, Joe Harris, his price went down on FanDuel. He is now just 3,700. This is a guy that plays 34 minutes a game. He's projected for 22% ownership. To me, he looks like a really good cash play. And if you want to get to him in GPPs, I certainly have no issue there. He's only $200 above the minimum. For some reason, he's $1,100 more expensive on DraftKings.
That's nuts.
Makes no sense.
All right. Well, Nick Claxton, minimum salary, though, too. Just keep an eye out. Someone mentioned something in chat earlier. I wasn't going to bring it up. It said something about, like, is that why your top 5 contenders were BS yesterday? I had no intention to bring it up, but this just kind of brought me to something and you can speak on this.
Sure.
At the time of writing that, doing that video, Contenders 5 days a week. Awesome. Check it out. Short form video along with the Process Show, 6:30 Eastern time every morning, Monday through Friday. Things change. Like Jonas Valanciunas was not doubtful. Jaren Jackson was not out. There were so many moving parts on a slate like this late in the season. You're only working with the information that you have. So if you're looking at contenders and you're building your lineup at 11 a.m., you're going to lose like 9 times out of 10 if you're not paying attention to the news and making adjustments.
We also went through the example yesterday where I said we have 5 Toronto Raptors in the top 5, but all that means is that 1.5 is the most expected number of Raptors in the lineup,
right.
Which 1 and 2 are the next option. 0 would be the third most popular option in that scenario. It's understanding probabilities would go a long way.
Yep, for sure.
By the way, if this does break the way that it is with if one of those two guys are out, Bruce Brown's 3,900 on FanDuel and 3,900 on DraftKings. I like going to Bruce Brown as a potential value play. We're talking about a 0.9 to 1 fantasy point per minute guy that could fall into 26 minutes or so.
If Kyrie Irving's out?
If one of Kyrie and Harden are out. Like if they're both in, then I don't think that Bruce Brown is going to be all that appealing. But if one of those guys are out, I like it.
Let's talk about Boston and Cleveland. because Boston yesterday showed. Did he have Tatum and Kemba in that lineup, or just Kemba?
AirPods. I'm on it. Just keep going.
My God, this
Garbage,
guy.
man.
Right
Garbage.
when I ask him a question, it's okay. Can you hear me? No, he can't.
I can hear you now.
Was the winner from that we went over on lineup study, was that Kemba and Tatum or just Kemba?
Both, I think.
Yeah, both, right? Okay, thank you. And
Yeah.
Jordan was nodding his head over there as well. So thank you. Producer Jordan Klein working behind this, Josh would say, the virtual glass here on a wonderful Wednesday morning. So Boston yesterday was important. It was really important to have some of these guys in there. Jason Tatum came through with a pretty solid game, played 39 minutes. And Kemba Walker, the real hero here, because he was only 7,700. His price has actually come down a notch on DraftKings for today. And they've got a much better matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers than they did against the Miami Heat. Now, it's not the best matchup. It's still a slow-paced game, sub 220 total. Robert Williams questionable. We'll throw that out there as well. And they're 8-point favorites. But do we go right back to the well? Well, I won't even say, do we go back to the well? Do we go to the well? Because I wasn't at the well really with much Boston yesterday.
Yeah, there's a lot to like for Boston here, but I'm not expecting Kemba Walker to play in this game.
Second of a back-to-back, you're not seeing it? You could be right.
He hasn't been playing them before, and they have no incentive to play him in this game. The Boston Celtics are 96% to be the 7 seed.
Yeah.
Kemba
Kemba also left that game and came back. Don't forget about that.
But, I mean, he hasn't been playing back-to-back, so I see no reason to suspect that it's going to start today. So I have Kemba out. I do have Robert Williams in. I have no idea if Robert Williams is going to play or not today, but I like him quite a bit at 5,100 if he does play. But the prize here, unquestionably, Jason Tatum. If there's no Kemba Walker on the floor, if there's no Jaylen Brown, well, because there's no Jaylen Brown on the floor, he is 9,500 on FanDuel, 9,400 on DraftKings. He is my number one play on DK. I can't remember if he was 1 or 2. Him and Trae Young are my top 2 plays today. He's projected for 44% ownership on FanDuel. So I agree with that number. Not a problem at all. It's projected for 36% ownership on DK. I completely agree with it. He just looks like an incredible play. Cleveland sucks. And this is fully Jason Tatum's team, but we're not done there. Play a lot of Marcus Smart, play a lot of Evan Fournier. I think play a decent amount of Robert Williams. Peyton Pritchard is 3,500. That's the flat minimum on FanDuel. He's 3,100 on DraftKings. He actually showed up in my optimal on the process show this morning. Make sure you're watching that. There is a ton to like for Boston today. I have a very difficult time going different direct. Like they're my 3rd ranked team, but they're tied sort of with Atlanta and the Lakers. Obviously we'll get into the Lakers in a bit, but on DK, Tatum, Fournier, Williams, Smart, Pritchard, load up. If Robert Williams happens to get ruled out, Tristan Thompson will look a little bit better. Grant Williams at the flat minimum probably sneaks into 5 to 10% of lineups, but Tatum is the clear star here.
Man, if Kemba does in fact sit, and we could get that news any minute now. So a lot of times we get that early in the morning when Kemba sits on the second of a back-to-back. That changes everything. Now, Tatum is the prize, as you'd like to say. There's no doubt about that. But in the event that Kemba is sidelined, we already know Jaylen Brown out for the year. Who do you think is the best option supplanting that production? Because it's been really tough this season to figure out where that point guard and backcourt production is going to come from these value guys. And even the ones that start sometimes only play 20 minutes. The ones off the bench play more, vice versa. It's really difficult to predict what Brad Stevens is going to do with these rotations.
Yeah, I mean, there was one day a while back where Tremont Waters got the start. He doesn't play anymore. I think the 2 guys that could see the biggest benefit are either Peyton Pritchard or Aaron Nesmith. I have them both projected for 24 minutes. They're basically the same price. Nesmith is $100 more expensive. You need Nesmith to play 30 minutes. At 24 minutes, he's going to have a really hard time getting you there. He's 0.75 fantasy points per minute. It's just not, but he's been playing better. He's been at 0.89 on FanDuel as of late, but you're going to need one of those 2 guys to take the jump in minutes. Pritchard and Nesmith are both projected for basically the same ownership at this point. I would basically just want to pick one of the 2 and hope that I'm right, but they are the 2 guys that I think see the benefit of Kemba being out.
All right. Chris Meyer says you need to play the contest you're in. In most cases, And most of these guys are playing 150 lineups, so their mindset of the slate is going to be different than many other people.
No.
So what I was going to say is you can translate talking about being above or overweight or underweight on a player. You can translate a lot of that information into single entry or 3 max. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's all the same. The goal of every contest that you're entering are to play the best players that you can play as much as possible. Whether I'm playing one lineup or I'm playing 150 lineups, the guys that I think are in the optimal lineup most frequently are either going to be all in my single entry lineup or my highest owned guys in 150. There's no such thing as a guy that's a good single entry option and not a good 150 lineup option. That's not a thing. People think it's a thing, but the size of the contest is the dictator of how low you go in the list of guys that can be optimal, not the kind of contest. Single entry is meaningless. If it's 1,000 person single entry compared to a 100,000 person contest, that's where the differences lie. It doesn't matter that there's something to be said for pros having less of a percentage of the entire pool, but that is smaller than the fact that a larger contest needs a wider spread.
Right. Well said. Let's talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. No Darius Garland. Cedi Osman is questionable. And Isaiah Hartenstein remains out today as well. Cavs are, 8-point dogs here at home. Is there anything we can do with Cleveland going up against the shorthanded Boston Celtics?
Yeah, there's more than I would like. Jared Allen, 6,500 on FanDuel and 6,900 on DK. He has not been very good as of late, but I got him in for 33 minutes. To me, he's showing up as a contrarian option in GPPs. Colin Sexton, 7,600 on FanDuel. He's pulling 22% ownership. That gives me a little bit of pause, but he's kind of running the show. And there's already rumors out there that other teams are mocking the rest of the guys on Cleveland because they know that Colin Sexton isn't going to pass. So at least he's going to look for his own shot. And then finally, $5,700 or $5,900 Kevin Love, depending on which site you're playing on. If he's active, he's going to play 26, 27, 28 minutes. And it's like a fantasy point per minute guy. Maybe he gets hot. I don't mind it. Those are the guys that I'd be looking at: Allen, Sexton, and Love. If Cedi Osman happens to get ruled out, then you probably start looking at Broderick Thomas as a potential guy. Dean Wade at 4K becomes another value option. It's never going to be fun getting to Cleveland, but there are a couple pieces you can get to.
Okay. Not worried about this lull in production from Jared Allen here?
I mean, a little bit. 0.93 fantasy points per minute over the last 30 days. He's normally more like a 1.05 guy. So it's not ideal. And I'm sure motivation is tough to come by for the Jared Allen and the Cavs right now, but played 32 minutes their last time out, 26 the game before that, which isn't ideal. But I think if
they
this game is at least mildly
30.
competitive, he goes for 33.
Okay, fair enough. And the prices come down a little bit. There were a couple of questions in chat just saying what happened to Allen. And yeah, his production has tailed off a little bit, but it can come back. There's no doubt about that. New Orleans and Dallas. But before we do that, let's take a quick look at the Awesemo Hall of Fame from around the league yesterday and the day before. I didn't get to do it on yesterday's show. So let's go ahead and see what we've got going on here. Jordan Klein throwing it up on the screen. I want to pull up this PowerPoint because I always screw it up, Josh, because, well, I can't read it properly off the screen, but I can read this. Fat Star, first place, 750 in the MLB 15K pinch hit. If you're wondering why we do this, maybe you're new to the channel. Well, we want to brag for you. We want to put these up there with the Awesemo avatar and give you an opportunity to win a free month of Awesemo Plus. It's a $100 value. All you have to do is go, as you see on the screen, awesemo.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Awesemo Hall of Fame. Include Josh Engleman and myself at Lafayette_D. Just makes it easier, and, it makes it more enjoyable. And if you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, well, win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And it's everything included: ownership, player projections, top stack, boom bust tool, you name it, all the premium articles, the lineup builder, everything. So go ahead and do that. Throw that avatar up there wherever you're at. Stay odd. Took third out of 17,835 and entry, turning into 400. Shout out to Awesemo and all the contests. Make life easier to play DFS without a cell phone. Now, Josh, this guy DM'd me and he's like, "Hey, Lafi, how do I figure this out? was like, well, just take a screenshot on your phone. He says, I don't have a cell phone. I said, you're full of shit. Like, there's no way you don't have a cell phone. But he really doesn't have a cell phone. He said he used his girl's cell phone to download the app and sign in and do it. But here we are, got his free month, coming in third place. So
I can't imagine playing DFS and not having a cell phone.
crazy, right? I can't imagine living and not having a cell phone, but in an odd way, I respect that, because this cell phone, man, I don't know, on it too
I could
much.
pretty easily get rid of it and only have a flip phone, and it probably wouldn't change my life all that much.
You really think you could do that?
I mean, not the way that my job and stuff is set up, but if it wasn't for having to sort of need that information all the time, it wouldn't make a difference to me. I'm not like on it all the time.
You roll out of bed in the morning, or you open your eyes in the morning. What's the first thing you do? Other than like adjust your junk.
Yeah, fart.
Yeah. Okay. Other than that, like, what's the first physical thing you do?
I walk downstairs, I start the coffee, I let the dog out.
Okay. So you do not pick your phone up while still in bed and look at anything?
While I'm in bed, absolutely not.
No. Okay. So you're disciplined.
I just don't have anything to look at.
Gotcha.
Like if I played the night before, then yeah, I look at it. But I could just as easily go sit down at my desk and do it.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I do the coffee, let the dog out, make the dog breakfast and all that stuff. But dude, I usually will pull my phone out and I'll look at notifications. Besides,
the moment my alarm goes off, I tap it on my watch and I immediately get out of bed.
You sleep with your watch on?
Yeah. I track my sleep.
What?
I track my sleep.
Oh, okay. Good stuff. Anyway, besides the point, no cell phone, still getting the win, still getting the free month. And then another one here, had to take down until the Cabrera home run, but I'll still take that ROI. Second place, $500 in the mini max. And then where the hell is Stanley Johnson? Peter Hanley again, another $2,500 win, 27, sorry, just keeps putting up those numbers. Congratulations, Peter. And the last one, I know this isn't a 5K contest, but nice ROI on $1.25. Yeah, sure. Lavi D and Josh, thanks for the great info. Well, thanks for checking out the show every day, Philip. That's the Hall of Fame. Making things happen over here at Awesemo. Use the avatar. Tweet at us when you win. And get your free month. All right, dude. We got 3 to go. Jeez. New Orleans and Dallas. Ingram questionable or doubtful. Steven Adams questionable. They're 9-point dogs against Dallas. 224.5 total. I've been taking vitamins in the morning. Is there anything worse than a vitamin burp?
I don't know. I'll let you know when I take zinc in 5 minutes.
You never taken like multivitamins or anything like that? And had that
I don't take a multivitamin.
Chat knows what I'm talking about. Anyone had a vitamin burp, they know what's up. And then your piss looks like neon yellow.
Yeah.
Like you just came out of a radio, like I just came out of Chernobyl. You know?
Too many Rontgren or whatever the shit that's called.
Yeah. What are you doing with the Pels here with Ingram doubtful?
Very, very little. Dallas is the 3rd slowest team in the league. I think that Lonzo at 7,700 on both sites is the best option from the Pels. I don't think that he is all that good all that frequently. I think James Johnson for 4,700 on FanDuel is really the only other option that I think you should own more than 10% of the time. Najee Marshall's pulling in a little bit more ownership. I'm not really that interested. I have Steven Adams with the assumption that he is out, at which point cross your fingers and hope you get Willie Hernan-Gomez or Jackson Hayes correct, but I'd rather just have neither one of them. It's just not a really good DFS spot. So Lonzo's the only guy that I have any true interest in. And even then, you know, he's like a 15%er, maybe a 20%er on FanDuel, given the way the position's set up. I find the Pelicans to be incredibly underwhelming. So much so that they are basically tied for the worst with Portland and Houston of teams that I don't want.
What about the Dallas Mavericks? Luka coming off a dismal game, dude. I mean, absolutely awful game. Kristaps Porzingis is questionable to play today, but I mean, Luka, 12-5-5 in 26 minutes, has gone 2 straight games now without hitting a 3. I think he went 48 games straight making a 3. Prior to this, where he's missed or he hasn't made a 3 in 2 straight. Not important, of course, but I just found it to be interesting. He's 3 really just wildly underwhelming games in a row now. Does he get back on track tonight against the Pels?
I think so, or at least I hope so. I mean, he's 10-4 on FanDuel, 10K on DraftKings, or 10-8 on DraftKings rather. Projected for call it 25% on average across both sites. I have him in the optimal 30% of the time on FanDuel. I love paying up at point guard, whether it's Trae Young, Russ, or Luka. I really do like paying up at point guard on FanDuel today. I have him in the optimal 20% of the time on DraftKings. That's basically it, though, for Dallas. I mean, a little bit of Tim Hardaway, I think, is probably fine at 6K. But to me, and by the way, I'm assuming that Porzingis doesn't play here. I guess he could. I don't have any concept of whether or not he will. Mavs are 77% to be the 5 seed with a 20% chance of falling to the 6 seed. They are obviously massive favorites at home in this spot against the Pelicans. Pel's missing their best 2 guys. So I assume Dallas just thinks they can get it done. It doesn't seem like a spot where they should be risking Kristaps Porzingis coming back. So to me, it's Luka and nothing else.
All right. I do like
this is
Luka.
Probably the worst game on the slate.
It is, but I like Luka here. I just like when players are playing badly, but they're really, really good players, and that playing badly can disappear in the blink of an eye. You know,
would you rather have Luka or Russ today?
I'd still rather have Russ. And one of the, I know he's a lot more expensive, but there's no Bradley Beal. The game has a 241 total. Like there's too much in Russ's favor right now. Now that can change if ownership goes wildly apart from each other. But right now we've got him like 10% off.
Yeah.
That's not enough for me. You know why? You know why? Because what is the likelihood that Russell Westbrook gives you 33 fantasy points?
Barring injury, 0.
Right. Like maybe, you know what? Maybe you'd be disappointed if he gives you 33 in the first half.
Yeah. Look, on FanDuel, it's a little bit more likely because he could probably hang 10 turnovers, but I don't even think that's super likely.
Doesn't get the bonuses for but still, Russell Westbrook giving you the 3 straight games that we've seen from Luka, 3 straight, 23, 32, 36, hell, 53, 50, 48. Throw them in there as well.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
What's Dallas's record in those 3 games?
Say it again.
What was their record in those 3 down Luka games?
They are 2-1. Okay. But mind you, 2 of them came against Cleveland.
Sure.
So yeah, whatever, right? And to be fair, he only played 23 and 22 minutes and then 26. So his minutes were really, God, for a blowout, those are really, really low. He got ejected from one of them.
He did.
But what about the other one?
I don't know.
Me neither. It doesn't matter. Look, I think Luka's a strong play, but I'm
just gotta stop punching people in the dinger, man.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that he was 1 tech away from a 1-game suspension.
He's a whiny bitch pretty regularly.
Portland and Utah. Let's keep this one going. And remember, all of our shows available in podcast form, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you want. Check it out. If you don't want to do it on the YouTubes, we got you covered everywhere else. Leave a rating and a review and leave your Twitter handle on there or your Awesemo handle, because you'll put yourself in the running to win a free month or a free week of Awesemo Plus as well. And we put premium content in front of the paywall every day. We rotate it so you guys can check it out. NBA big boards free today, MLB ownership rankings, PGA golfer rankings, and the NHL player projections. All of that free at awesemo.com if you want to check it out. Josh, the Portland Trailblazers are 2-point dogs, 234.5 total. Kind of a fun game here, but they're pretty healthy. And I think the one guy we have to start with is Damian Lillard, who you actually teased earlier in the show when talking about Westbrook.
Well, I actually think that the guy that we need to start with is CJ McCollum, who I have more optimally on both sides.
You can start with Harry Giles if you want. Doesn't matter to me, fella.
Sounds good. 7,700 on FanDuel, 7,900 on DraftKings. To me, CJ is the best option coming out of Portland. I don't really like Portland all that much. CJ and Dame are clearly the 2 best guys, but on DraftKings, Dame has the highest projected ownership at just 13%. CJ's at 11. Nurkic is at 11. Norm Powell is at 11. That's too high, by the way. I don't disagree with any of that. To me, it's either flat or you're not all that interested in prioritizing anything from Portland. CJ, just because of his position on FanDuel, stands out a little bit more to me, but you're getting a Utah team that's good. You don't really enjoy facing them from a DFS perspective. They're 94% to win or to be the 1 seed. So they do still want to win and clinch. You don't want to be in the 2-3 and potentially have to face the Lakers. Can we talk about if the Lakers lose the play-in game and then win the second one, and the Lakers are the 8th seed going up against the Jazz?
Okay, so how would this have to go? Now, it's 7 through 10, right? Just correct me if I'm wrong. I forget from the bubble. 7 through 10, 7 and 8 only need to win 1. 9 and 10 have to win 2, correct?
7 and 8 play. Winner is the 7 seed. 9 and 10 play. The winner of 9-10 plays the loser of 7-8. The winner of that game becomes the 8th seed. So right now it's set to be Lakers, Warriors, 7-8. If the Warriors win that game and then the Lakers win the second game, the Lakers would be the 8th seed facing the Jazz. Meanwhile, the Jazz are going to be like, this is nonsense.
That would suck.
You should look. Zach Lowe's been pitching it. You should be allowed to pick the team that's coming out of there. That's preposterous that you should be able to be the 1 seed and get jammed up like that.
Yeah, not really. Disagree. I disagree because this could have happened without a play-in game.
What do you mean? What, they could have just been the 8th seed?
Lakers just could have finished 8th. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. But now we're introducing randomness into the way that we assign the seeding for 7 and 8.
Okay. But it's
the 8th seed could have a better record than the 7 seed now. That's insane.
Like prior to the beginning of the year, it's already random in the sense that you just don't know. Like players get hurt. What if Klay Thompson wasn't down for the whole year, right? And he came back at the end of the season, and Steph Curry and Dre got them into the 8th seed. It is what
I don't
it is.
think
like,
that we should have a situation where the 1 seed gets penalized by facing a team with a better record than the 7 seed. That's preposterous to me.
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying
you just said suck. Disagree like 30 seconds.
I'm not saying it doesn't suck. What I'm saying is that shit happens no matter what.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So if the Lakers finished 8th, just in a regular season with no play-in games, would you say Utah should be able to pick their opponent? No,
because they will have the 8th best record.
Right. Okay. So you're saying there's no reason the team with the 7th best record should be playing 8th. Should be.
I would flip-flop it, but yes. Yes.
Okay. So Utah just should lose a couple games intentionally and take the 2 seed. And then
you don't know who's going to be there.
And then maybe the Lakers will face them there. It is what it is. Like, I don't know.
It's silly. It's silly. You shouldn't be able to. The best team in the conference should not get penalized.
Well, if you're
not setting up to be penalized.
Well, one might say, Josh, if you're the best team in the conference, you've got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, those people don't know what they're talking about. Who's the favorite in that series if LeBron and AD are healthy?
The Lakers, man. That's crazy, right?
I bet they're not.
Oh, yeah. Lakers would be favored.
I don't think they would be.
You really don't think they'd be favored?
Probably. I don't think so, no.
Yeah, then Utah's got nothing to worry about.
I mean, it's obviously going to be very, very close. This is not going to be a line that separates very much from 50-50.
I think the play-ins are just dumb altogether. I agree with you, Jeffrey. I think they're dumb. I thought it was cool for the bubble because it was unique, and we're going through a period of shit, right? During COVID, they come back. You're doing a play-in round. You only play this, or you're doing the bubble. You only play this many games, the seeding games. I totally get that. Why not do something vastly different from what we've been doing? I don't know why we had to reintroduce it back into the league now once everything's back to normal.
I hate it.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever.
Don't play all that much Portland. Moral of the story.
What about number 1 seed favorite against the Lakers, Utah Jazz?
Play a little bit more, but these guys look super similar. That's obviously a good matchup going up against Portland, but I see like Gobert, Ingles, Royce O'Neal, Bojan, all as very similar, like 15-ish% type guys. Gobert, Ingles, Bojan, O'Neal, Clarkson, Niang, all in the 10 to 20% ownership range on FanDuel. They're all in like that same sort of range on DraftKings. I don't really want 17% owned George Niang at 3,900. I think we get enough value somewhere else as the day moves on. Ingles probably my favorite DK option. good luck picking between Boyan and Clarkson and O'Neal. It's the same sort of situation for Utah no matter what. These guys, Conley and Mitchell, have been out for so long. These prices have stabilized, and now it's just like when those guys are in. Everybody for Utah ends up looking super similar because they're such a balanced team.
Yep, that's the problem. Once the prices stabilize, you're no longer getting that good value. So while Mitchell and Mike Conley are out, it doesn't mean anything anymore at all.
No.
With Houston,
I like getting to Utah. You probably want one of their guys in every lineup that you're doing because it's a 6-gamer, maybe 2, but I don't see anybody that stands out above the pack.
Houston, we find ourselves in a similar situation, just in the sense that player pricing is beginning to match their production and match all of these injuries, or reflect those injuries, I should say. They're 13.5-point dogs against the Lakers, 223 total here at the Staples Center. And you've got a lot of question marks again, and this game doesn't start till 10 p.m. It's the only game, 10:30 Eastern time. It's a mess. You've got Christian Wood questionable. Kevin Porter remains out. Daquan Jeffries is questionable. Daniel House is questionable. And there's just no, we're rudderless here. You know, we're in a boat without a rudder, Josh. We're up shit's creek.
I know that's what rudderless means.
Well, that's one version of it. Yes. We are directionless.
Yeah.
We are pissing in the wind.
I don't have anything that I could possibly say about Houston. It's obviously one of the worst matchups you can find. Lakers defense is exceptional. I assume these are my assumptions for the Lakers side. I think LeBron is in. I think AD is out. I think Alex Caruso is out. Guessing. This game starts at 10:30. We're not even going to know this information probably. I don't know if Christian Wood plays. If he does, I think I like him a little bit on FanDuel at 8,300. I probably like Kelly Olynyk a little bit on DraftKings at 7,800 if Wood is out. I don't know what to do with Houston. It's too early. And they stink. They're really bad in a terrible DFS matchup. Try to play the guys that are going to play the most minutes. Try to avoid most of the guys that don't start. That's the best that I can say right now.
I can add one thing to this. Watch the tip off, watch the deeper dive, watch the live before lock show tonight. Seriously. Yes. It is still possible that we get this news. It's just because it's a late game doesn't mean that we're guaranteed not to have information getting closer to lock. Same thing, right? The contenders videos are awesome. The process show, the strategy show, same lumped into the same category. All of these things I think are super valuable and we love doing them. But it's a process, and you have to be paying attention to what's going on throughout the day. Late in the season, right? This is not December basketball. This is May basketball. Things change, and if you're still playing, I don't see why you wouldn't be, especially on a 6-gamer, which is what I love to play, 6 to 8 games. You got to be cognizant of what's going on and what type of news is breaking throughout the day. While you're at it, strategy show for baseball just started. PGA strategy show comes up at 1 p.m. And then if you're a premium sub, check that daily game plan out at 3 p.m. It's behind the paywall, but really, really helpful stuff. All right, Josh, let's finish this one. Before we do, we got almost 520 people watching, only 161 likes. Come on, we got to ramp that number up, at least 200 out of 500, at least 200 out of 500. Do us that solid so we don't leave this stream in shame. The LA Lakers will very likely be without Alex Caruso. I believe you said that just a minute ago, right? You have him out. Yeah,
I did.
Second of a back-to-back. He departed yesterday's game. LeBron James was at one point out. Then he was expected to play yesterday. Then they said he's going to take one more day off and play today. I have him in, Josh. I assume that he plays, but wouldn't you just hold him out for one more game against the Houston Rockets when you're 14-point favorites?
No, probably not.
I don't think they will, but
yeah, I think you just want to figure out what you got, how the ankle feels in real competition. Because you want to get back before you're playing a do or die game. So I gave LeBron 30 minutes. And again, I'm assuming AD is out as well. 8,900 for LeBron on FanDuel. I think that's viable for today. I don't at all want to pay 10-2 for him on DraftKings. That's impossible to me. But I think you can get to a little bit of LeBron on FanDuel, depending on what your assumptions are for minutes. But I actually like a lot of this Lakers team, given everybody that's out. No Schroeder, no Caruso in our assumptions, no AD. So Drummond, 5,400 on FanDuel looks like a pretty decent center option. 6K on DraftKings. I don't mind that either. Kyle Kuzma is 5K on FanDuel, 5,400 on DraftKings. He's been abysmal as of late. I think he's going wildly underowned, but I'm guessing that's because of some assumptions that we have in the ownership. THT should be in line to pick up a bunch of run. I've got him in for 24 minutes, though, so I tried to be pessimistic. 3,600 on FanDuel and 4,400 on DK. I like him a lot at 3,600 on FanDuel. That's a really nice price tag. And KCP then should probably play like 36 minutes as the sort of Swiss Army knife of the Lakers. They'll kind of just need him to do a little bit of everything. I don't have much issue going to a bunch of Lakers. They should absolutely destroy Houston. And I think there's some value to be had if we are really missing AD and Caruso and obviously still missing Schroeder.
Someone talked about earlier wanting us back for baseball. Well, we'll be back pretty soon for baseball, Josh. It's not that far away. What's that?
Will we?
I think so, right?
I don't know. I won't have too much.
What's that?
I won't have too much. Nothing. My NBA, well, obviously I don't know what we're doing with strategy shows, but process show isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Contenders videos for NBA aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
You're going to do playoff process shows for NBA?
At least through the first round. I mean, those are usually like 3 and 4 game slates.
Yeah, no. I guess the thing is it gets a bit repetitive now.
Kind of. We'll see. We're going to play it by ear. If people are still tuning in, I'm going to keep doing it.
Keep doing it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And then we can start looking at it from a different strategy perspective, single game showdown type stuff instead of full slate stuff.
I'm pretty sure Adam and I will be making a transition to baseball soon enough. We got a great team here, though. It doesn't really matter. You know, there's a lot of great guys that do basketball, baseball, golf, you name it, everything we've got. So check it all out. I guess that'll do it for us, huh?
I think that's it. 6 games up, 6 games down.
Fun show.
It's going to be a wild slate, man.
Yeah.
That, like, the Lakers news hanging in the balance, potentially heading into 7. I really wish they didn't move that Wizards game up a half hour for no reason.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't just move it back at this point. Whatever. I'll be done a half hour early. There's a silver lining to everything. Thanks, you guys, for hanging out, as always. We appreciate you. Thanks to our boy Jordan Klein, too, producing the show. We'll be back with you tomorrow once again on the strategy show. I won't. Josh will be. And then Josh and I will close out the week on the strategy show. It'll be the last strategy show that the two of us do together on the regular season. So let's make it good.
Okay,
I smell a bet brewing.
Playoff bet?
What's that?
Playoff bet or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could
put something together.
Let's let the audience choose the stakes. We'll pick it, though. They tweet us their suggestions, right? What the bet is. We did the hot chip challenge. That was actually a recommendation from the audience, as you remember, right?
Yeah.
Mustache bet. They've come up with some really good stuff. You guys come up with something. Tweet at us at Lafayette_D right there and at Josh Engleman, and follow us because, well, that's not nice otherwise. And we'll pick one for Friday to close out the regular season. It's got to be good. Like, it's got to be good, but not outrageous. It can't be like you guys, the loser has to get hit by a car. You can't, that doesn't seem right. Right?
No. So, I'll do most things as long as it doesn't hurt.
Yep. And no, I'm not shaving my head. I can't.
No, same.
I got a goofy head that can't do. There are certain things I will not do, but we will take every idea into consideration. Okay.
Yes.
Outside of like jump off a 4-story building, So ahead from that, Josh, that'll do it for us today. We'll see him back here on Friday.
It will. We've got one more left, man. It's been fun.
It's been a fun season with you guys. Thanks for hanging out as always. We'll see you back here soon.